We are most grateful to Dr. Fish for delivering the oration in honor of his much-loved aunt, Ida B. Scudder, and for his long friendship and generous support of the Christian Medical College, Vellore. Thank you, Rob. I now request Ms. Emma Koshi to read the citation for this occasion.
It is my honor to present the citation for the Dr. Ida S. Scudder Humanitarian Oration for 2018. The Ida S. Scudder Humanitarian Oration was established jointly by the Vellore Christian Medical College Foundation and the Christian Medical College Vellore in 2012. The objective is to perpetuate the legacy of Dr. Ida Sophia Scudder, embodied in the college motto, not to be ministered unto, but to minister, by honoring individuals who, through their lives and contributions, exemplify her courage, integrity, and character, in order to inspire future generations to follow in her footsteps and emulate her dedication to the well-being of humanity. Dr. Ida S. Scudder offered herself in loving service to the women and children of India, blind to the distinctions of religion, caste, and economic status. She always gave priority to the most marginalized and was known for her compassionate touch that patients would say took away their pain. Caring for the whole patient, mind and spirit, as well as body, was an important aspect of her effectiveness as a doctor. Dr. Ida S. Scudder began training women doctors through the licentiate medical practitioner course in 1918. This year, we celebrate the centenary of medical education at CMC Vellore. To mark this event, we have chosen to honor, through the oration, Aunt Ida's beloved niece, Dr. Ida Belle Scudder, affectionately known as Ida B. She's one of the less-sung heroes of CMC. She inherited and exhibited the same compassion for the marginalized as her aunt, while meticulously fulfilling her clinical and administrative duties with integrity and effectiveness. Dr. Ida Belle Scudder arrived in Vellore in 1931. After various teaching and clinical assignments, she was sent for higher training and then tasked with running the Department of Radiology. This later gave birth to a separate department of radiotherapy and nuclear medicine. She led these departments with efficiency and flair, developing them from humble beginnings to nationally recognized centers of training and excellence. However, through all this, she insisted on being a regular participant in the famous roadside clinics that extended medical care to the surrounding countryside and villages. Compassionate care for the marginalized, for the sake of Christ, was central to her life of service. After retiring from Vellore at 67, she served in India for a further 3 years, fostering radiology departments at mission hospitals in Miraj and Amblikhe. Ida B. passed away in 1995, but we are privileged that her nephew and closest living relative, Dr. Robert H. Fish, has consented to deliver the oration in honor of her. We could think of no person more suitable to speak on behalf of the Scudder family, who gave of themselves for CMC. Dr. Fish accompanied his aunt during his first visit to Vellore in response to the need he saw and in accordance with her example and wishes, he became a lifelong, devoted, and generous supporter of the activities of the low-cost effective care unit and the dental outreach programs to the marginalized, both here and in the Scudder Memorial Hospital, Ranipet. Dr. Fish is a fellow of the Academy of General Dentistry. He's a member of the Vellore CMC Corporation. He served on the board of the Scudder Foundation for 12 years and was a president from 2010 to 2017. He's an active member of his local Rotary Club and has tirelessly given his time and resources for numerous humanitarian projects, especially in providing free dental care to the economically deprived, both in the USA and in Honduras. Today, we are proud to honor Dr. Ida Belle Scudder in the presence of her nephew, Dr. Robert Fish, for her humble, compassionate, and devoted service to humanity. We remember and celebrate her example of Christ-inspired self-sacrifice for the sake of others. Could I request the director, Dr. J.B. Peter, to hand over the citation to Dr. Robert Fish. I invite Dr. Robert Fish to deliver the oration.
I want to thank you all for coming. You're not going to hear a very polished speaker, but I will do the best I can. I want to thank Dr. Matthews for the introductions, Dr. Pulamid, the principal. I want to thank the CMC Foundation, Dr. Honorine Ward and Emma Koch, for giving me this opportunity to honor my aunt. Hugh Skeel gave us 2 wonderful days, Leslie and I. We packed so much stuff. I wanted to show her this and that and that and that and that and this, and Hugh got it done. Thank you, Hugh. Also, obviously, we were met at the airport by Dr. Peter. I couldn't believe it that the CMC director came to meet our plane. He just happened to be there, but still, I thought it was quite an honor. So I'm so happy to be back here in CMC again. I'm very grateful to have been invited to deliver the annual Scudder Humanitarian Oration in honor and memory of my mother's sister, my aunt Ida B. I was very close to her, and I may tear up a little bit. So I will breathe and get through. So, as I said, we've had amazing 2 days thanks to Hugh. As expected, I am very privileged to have my cousin Leslie join me. All 4 of Great Aunt Ida's older brothers were, of course, born in India, as she was. My grandfather, Louis Scudder, had moved to the U.S. to become a missionary pastor to the American Indians. And when his first daughter was born in a tiny town of Shelton, Nebraska, on July 15th in the year 2000, he named her Ida Belle Sophia Scudder in honor of you-know-who. So I grew up with 2 Aunt Idas, Great Aunt Ida and my Aunt Ida B. And there were also 2 sets of Indians, the American Indians and the people from India. I am told that my grandfather, Louis, who did this to me as an early age, also was a fighter, as his sister was. And he fought the well-intentioned U.S. government that wanted to take these American Indians away from their families, strip them of their heritage and their language. His sister, too, was quite a fighter, as you know. strong-willed, and started a hospital for women in Vellore, India, of all places. There, the nursing school, even a medical school, started exactly 100 years ago, also for women only. So I grew up with this strong influence. I was born in 1946. I may have met Great Aunt Ida as a 1-year-old, but I was very close to my Aunt Ida B. My beloved mother, Lillian Scudder, and my father gave Ida B a home base. She could come and go, speaking about India, bringing awareness and praise about the work of CMC. My parents worked so very hard. Mom worked full-time, tutored in the evenings, drove a carpool. My father also had a long commute into New York City. They didn't have much, but they spread our home to Ida B, and Ida B helped my mom with everything and every way she could. We also hosted many visitors from CMC, doctors and dignitaries. My poor mom tried so hard to prepare Indian food for them. Actually, that was a tough thing for me as a child. So I knew the stories about the three knocks. I knew of the progress of CMC. I had read the books by Dr. Pauline Jeffrey and Dorothy Clark Wilson. So when Ida B asked if I would like to go to India during the summer of 1989, I jumped at the chance to travel with her. We left our quiet home, which of course is also called Hilltop, and we left for New York. As excited as I was, strangely, Ida B was even more excited. Right away, such a din at the JFK airport. The brightly colored saris, the Sikhs, the turbans, and all the hubbub. Such excitement of people going home from holiday or whatever reason. But everyone was so excited. I looked at Ida B. Such a happy smile she had. It was hot when we arrived in India. Of course, in June. When else would you go for your first trip to India? But Ida B, at 89, or almost 89, was so full of energy. The international terminal in Chennai was brand new. Actually, it was so brand new that the plane didn't pull all the way up to the gate. They shut off the engines. And everybody, of course, when a plane stops, everybody gets up and walks forward about 10 rows. Then the announcement came on that we were going to have to exit out the back of the plane, 20 at a time, by bus. And we sat there in our little tin can getting hotter and hotter. But such noise when we got off. People calling each other, horns blaring, animals, June heat. Ida B was still smiling. And she was relaxed. She was home. Fortunately for me, there was no place for us to stay at CMC. As CMC was hosting an all-India conference. So we had to spend a week with our driver visiting several facilities related to CMC, begun by Indian doctors. And within 2 days, Ida B was no longer just my mother's sister. To these people and to me, she was a deeply admired celebrity. I was exhausted, but not Ida B. I couldn't believe her energy. We went on to Kerala, to Periyar National Park. She loved the beauty and the tranquility. We watched people washing their beloved elephants. And then later, some tourists accidentally scared some elephants off. Oh, Ida B lost her tranquility. How she loved nature. And so when we leave Vellore, Leslie and I are going there, going to these places, to Madurai, to Kerala, and to Kodi, and then finally leaving from Cochin. So we are going to Kodi to try to see Hilltop, Great Aunt Ida's house with its beautiful gardens. We hear it's an ashram now, and I think that's quite fitting. As you may have heard, Ida B was truly remarkable, but in ways different, vastly different from Great Aunt Ida. She grew up in a tiny Nebraska town, and though she graduated from their high school, she went 3 additional years to Northfield School, an all-girls preparatory school, then to an all-women's college, Mount Holyoke College, and then 4 more years, again, surrounded by women, at Women's Medical School in Philadelphia. Whereas Great Aunt Ida transferred to Cornell and went straight away to India after graduating in 1899, Ida B. did not decide to come to India until her last year in medical school. She did not need to transfer from the all-women's medical school because Great Aunt Ida had paved the way. Ida B. scored the highest of all medical students in the U.S. on her national boards. But she was frightened to go to an unpaid internship at a tiny little hospital in Albany, New York, because she was the only woman. She was vastly different from her Great Aunt Ida. Great Aunt Ida wouldn't have even given that a worry. For many years, Ida B. doubted her abilities. She wrote letters home for fear of not being good enough. In fact, she was often homesick. The other big difference was that whereas Great Aunt Ida was fearless, she was also first. She could do whatever she wanted because no one had ever done it before. There was no right and wrong for her. It was all good. Ida B.'s path was often predetermined by others. After getting over her fear of men, she decided to specialize in pediatrics and took a paid residency. Suddenly, she was called to Vellore by the illness of Dr. Pauline Jeffrey. Ida B. left for India on April 4th, 1931, and arrived in May. And I often heard about the hubbub she experienced on her first trip to India, the hottest time of the year, ready to do whatever doctoring she was. But she didn't get there. She was sent to Kodi to learn Tamil and to study. But before she could finish that, she was called back to CMC. Again, not to do what she wanted, pediatrics. She took over the eye, ear, nose, and throat clinics and taught anatomy, and then medicine, and then OB-GYN. She thought that would be great, OB-GYN, but her true love was the roadside clinics. Here she could be her own boss and treat the poorest of the poor who could not afford to travel or were too sick. Great Aunt Ida went on furlough, and Ida B. was in charge of the hospital. A nurse gave a morphine dose not to the mother, but to her baby. The nurse gave the morphine dose to the baby by accident. The baby was dying. Ida B. tried to save the baby and thought she would die. She did all she could. There was nothing to do but to sit down and pray. Ida B. told me that she felt someone else in the room. The next morning, the baby was saved. Ida and God saved the baby and the nurse. And she never forgot that lesson. But CMC didn't need a pediatrician or an OB-GYN doctor. They needed a radiologist. So she went on furlough to study radiology in New York with a Dr. William Meyer, who was very famous. He taught her to strive for the best results with whatever equipment was available. No matter how little she had, her job was to do the best she could and produce the best images. She went on to study medical physics and radiotherapy in England, again under the well-known physicist, this time of Dr. Edith Quinby. So at the age of 38, she completed the LRCP and the MRCS exams in England. Don't ask me what those initials stand for, it came from the book. And she went on to Cambridge for even more study. Returning to Vellore, she developed diagnostic and therapeutic radiology services with one X-ray machine and one radium machine for brachytherapy. When Ida, in 1938, war was breaking out. Chamberlain was appeasing Hitler, trying to be the good guy with Hitler. Her father was ill. Her sister had picked her birthday, July 15th, for her wedding, my mom. The board wanted Ida to stay in England for more certification and become a member of the College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. There were 3 boards controlling Ida, and she didn't know which way to turn. There was a board in America, in the US, there was a board in England, and there was a board here. Ida also wanted to return to Vellore before great-aunt Ida had to go fundraising. So what to do? Not her decision. Finally, she made one. She went home. She went home to see her dad. When she was in the US, she missed my mom's wedding, but she did get home to see her dad. Remember, her dad was a missionary pastor, and he married my mom, and then he passed away the month later. When Ida B. returned to Vellore in 1939 to open the radiotherapy department, it was a very turbulent time. It's a history that that it was such a historical time of Gandhi, the end of the Depression, the lack of supplies, nationalism. The war was coming on. Because of nationalism, this being a so-called American school, they were no longer accepting the medical diploma from Vellore. The medical school was facing a tough time. They must upgrade to their new standards and raise one heck of a lot of money.